It's time to predict Week 15 of the NFL. I'm going to do the games really quickly before we bring on Brian again this week, and we're going to talk about the four main games. We're going to be talking about the Chargers at the Chiefs, the Dolphins at the Vikings, the Cowboys at the Colts, and the Patriots at the Steelers. The other ones I'm just going to do real quick, and then we're going to hop right onto that. Last week was okay. I think that was a crazy week. I mean, last week was insane. Predictions about 50-50, I think, if I remember correctly. Could have been better, could have been worse. Crazy week, though. I love that ending in Miami, and actually in Oakland as well. That was a bunch of really cool games. Let's get into it, though. Texans at the Jets. Got the Houston Texans at the better football team. Even though Sam Darnold looked good in his first game back, the Jets as a whole are not good enough. Browns at the Broncos. Give me the Cleveland Browns. Broncos just lost to the 49ers in a very bad fashion. The Browns are good. Packers at the Bears. Packers are not good this year. The Bears are. They beat the best team, or arguably the best team in the league. Their defense is nasty, and Aaron Rodgers by himself is not going to beat that. Detroit Lions at the Buffalo Bills. I'll take the Buffalo Bills because I like Josh Allen. Let it be said, I love Josh Allen. Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the Baltimore Ravens. I'll take the Ravens. They almost beat the Chiefs. Held the best team in the league to an overtime game, and the Buccaneers are not on their level. Cardinals, Atlanta Falcons. I'll take the Falcons. Didn't look great, but the Cardinals are rather terrible, and the Falcons are going to win. Raiders at the Bengals. I'll take the Cincinnati Bengals. The Raiders did win against the Steelers, but I don't think they'll repeat. I'll take the Titans over the Giants. Giants pulled off a great win. A huge win over the Redskins. Put 40 points on them, which was crazy, but they're not going to do that again. That was a fluke. Speaking of the Redskins, they are at Jacksonville. I think they're going to lose to a bad Jacksonville team, but both of their quarterbacks broke their leg, which doesn't happen a lot, but for the Redskins it did. They brought Josh Johnson in, who I think he hadn't played football in a while. He was on the team for a week when Mark Sanchez got benched. They're all over the place. Jaguars are winning. Seahawks at the 49ers. I'm going to pick the Seahawks. Both teams had strong games, but the Seahawks are still motivated by trying to make the playoffs. Eagles at the Rams. I'll take the Rams. I don't care if they lost. They're good. The Eagles are not that great. They should have beaten the Cowboys. They did get a bad call on the kickoff fumble, but that's no justification. Rams win. Saints at the Panthers. I'll take the Saints. No reason to not believe in them. They struggled against the Buccaneers, but they end up winning, and the Panthers are not good. They played horrible against the Browns like I had predicted, so no reason to not go with the Saints. Alright, let's bring on Brian and get into the rest of the predictions.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another NFL Pick'em presented by MadMen Sports and Beyond Football. I'm Brian of MadMen Sports along with Alex of Beyond Football. Great to have you back. Great to be working with you again. How are you today?
I'm doing great, and I'm glad to be back on the show as well. I missed you last week, but it was a crazy week we had last time.
Yes, it was. We are getting so close to the playoffs, and it's really just a bittersweet feeling. I don't know if you feel the same way, but that's how I feel, honestly.
Oh, yeah, of course.
So
it's getting to be the exciting part of the season as well, so I'm looking forward to it.
It is. You're right. Exactly. I feel like unlike last year, there are just so many teams. It's the first time in a while where it feels like really good teams are actually going to miss the playoffs as opposed to some of those years where like it feels like you kind of just have to throw a sixth team into the playoffs in one of the two conferences. I think it's a really good thing. We're going to do the same thing we did last week or 2 weeks ago. We're going to talk about the four games that we kind of figure were the biggest four games of the week. Maybe you disagree, but kind of games where we feel like they're the toughest to pick. Maybe there's the most playoff implications on the line. And we'll start with what I believe is the game of the week, the Thursday night matchup between the Chiefs and the Chargers. So much on the line in this game. The winner has a pretty clear path to the 1 seed in the AFC. The loser could end up playing on the road throughout the playoffs. So, Alex, who do you have in this one and why?
Now, this game is huge, like you said. If the Chargers were to win this, they would have an equal record. They would both be sitting at 11-3 because the Chargers actually are at 10-3, and I'm going to pick the LA Chargers. I know you're going to like that. I'm not sure if you're going to agree with it, but last time I picked them against the Steelers, and I was right. And here's the thing. Phillip Rivers is playing the best season of his career. And I know the Chiefs' offense is the best in the league. They're the most explosive team, and it's hard to contend with them. But what the Chiefs have is a bottom 5 defense. And if there's one offense in the league that is consistent, it's going to be the Chargers and Phillip Rivers with that season. Now, he's not going to have Melvin Gordon, and he's likely not even going to have Austin Eckler, but I believe that he's going to be able to consistently beat that Chiefs defense. And I think they're actually going to edge it out because the Chargers defense will get a stop or two on Mahomes. I think Mahomes should be the MVP. He's great, but I think he's going to not score as consistently as Rivers, and the Chargers are going to walk away with the win.
All right, well, I like your line of thinking there. I think I agree with most of that, actually, especially, you mentioned no Melvin Gordon, no Austin Eckler, but Justin Jackson kind of made his name known in that Sunday night game against the Steelers a few weeks ago. He's a pretty shifty runner himself. Might even be a better pure between the tackle runner as opposed to Austin Eckler. I'm going to pick the Chiefs. I believe they've won 9 straight against the Chargers now. Andy Reid really has Phillip Rivers' number. It's in Kansas City. It's a hostile environment. And I'm telling you, just now, as I was kind of putting together some of these clips, I was rewatching a little of that Chiefs-Ravens game. And sometimes, no matter how good your defensive game plan is, Patrick Mahomes just makes plays that you can't even prepare for. And in the end, while the Chiefs' defense in general isn't great, they do have a couple of playmakers on their defensive line, Justin Houston, Chris Jones, Dee Ford, and I can see them exploiting this still below average Chargers offensive line. I actually think it's the Chiefs that are going to make that 1 or 2 big defensive plays that'll end up making the big difference, whether it be a sack, fumble, or maybe an interception. So I'm going to take the Chiefs with a slight win. But I like the disagreement early, and just like last time, I'll be rooting for you to be right. And I'll be rooting to be wrong on that one.
Oh yeah, I can see your pick. I think Rivers is going to have to get the ball out early and often if he wants to get that offense going. I think the pressure is going to be on him, but I think the pressure is also going to be on Mahomes to win that game.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, both teams are going to have to neutralize each other's pass rushes, and the Chargers are going to have to take advantage of the Chiefs' weak secondary. They're going to have to target Keenan Allen, Mike Williams early and often, if you ask me. So, moving on then, we have an inter-conference game between the Colts and the Cowboys. Two of the hottest teams in the league, honestly. You have Andrew Luck and a potent Colts offense going up against possibly the best defense in football. Not everyone would say that, but you could certainly make an argument for it. Who do you have in this one?
I do have the Indianapolis Colts. Now, last time I think I said no one likes the Cowboys, and I don't want that to, cloud up my pick, but I think the Colts actually can do it. Now, we've seen the Cowboys have a great defense. We've seen them beat the Eagles. We've seen them do it against the New Orleans Saints, which we both didn't believe was going to happen, but they shouting people out at our weekly basis now. Now, I think Andrew Luck is playing at a great level considering he's been missing the last 2 years. And the Colts are very much in the race for that division now. They are trying to win the division, and they're going to put everything on the line, I think, and beating Dallas is a huge step. Now, you got to consistently score against that defense. We know that the Cowboys' offense isn't exactly the greatest if Zeke Elliott can't get into his rhythm, because Dak Prescott is okay, but he's not anything special. If you can keep that offense below 2 touchdowns, I think you have a shot if you're the Indianapolis Colts, and Andrew Luck is going to have to show up.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. I actually have the Colts in this game as well. Home field advantage, I think, is a big deal. The Cowboys aren't quite the same when they're on the road as they are at home. They are, going away from where they're comfortable. And this is I feel like it kind of comes down to matchups. And the Colts, I feel like, have not necessarily an edge, but at least they have the personnel to match up against the Cowboys. They actually have pretty much all season long, they've had a pretty underrated defensive line, underrated run defense, not loaded with stars, but just good players all around. Darius Leonard has been an absolute monster for them. And then on the flip side, the Colts have one of the toughest, most smash-mouth offensive lines in the NFL, so they might actually be able to push the ball against this Cowboys front seven, give Andrew Luck some time, and if T.Y. Hilton can just break free a few times and Andrew Luck can make a few plays, I think the Colts can actually kind of keep this Cowboys offense in check, and they'll end up winning what will be a pretty surprisingly low-scoring game. I think the Colts win something like 20-13.
Yeah, I was going to bring up the Colts offensive line as well. They've been crazy good. I think they went for a streak of like 5 games without allowing a single sack, which is unheard of in the passing league like we have these days. And I think they can routinely double-team DeMarcus Lawrence if they need to, because on the interior, I'm not worrying about it. I think Ryan Kelly and Quentin Nelson, they're going to have their guys all day long, like they've been having all season. Antonio Costanzo, I also think, played a really, really strong season at left tackle for the Colts. And you can see what Andrew Luck is actually capable of doing when you give him the right protection. He's been showing that this year, and I think he's going to succeed in doing that again this week. Not to mention that the Cowboys should not have won last week, but of course that's in the past. That was a really bad call on the fumble, of course, in the opening kickoff, and they were getting pretty lucky. But okay, they won, beat the Eagles. I guess it's deserved, and now they need to show themselves against the Colts because it's not going to be that easy.
Yeah, no, absolutely agreed. Pretty much all of that. Moving on to this next game, this is a pretty interesting one because on one hand, you have a team that's in the playoff hunt still that you really didn't expect. And then on the flip side, you have a team that everyone kind of expected to take a even bigger leap this year, and they ended up being really disappointing. And that's the Vikings. They're hosting the Dolphins. Vikings are 8-point favorites, so it's a pretty big spread. Dolphins coming off a miracle win against the New England Patriots, and the Vikings are coming off an absolute stinker in Seattle. So who do you have in this one?
Well, the Vikings are 8-point favorites, which shows me that Las Vegas is not with the times here because the Dolphins have a better record, and the Dolphins have all the momentum in the world. The Dolphins are going to win this game. They just beat the Patriots, which is the greatest thing you can do if you're in that division for the last 20 years. That's like your Super Bowl every season, and in the way they beat them, how is that team not motivated to shoot for the playoffs and possibly play New England again? And the Minnesota Vikings are a mediocre team and nothing else this year. I think they have not met expectations. Kirk Cousins hasn't been meeting expectations, and the Dolphins are going to take advantage of that.
Yeah, I can actually see it. I can see it, especially, you come off an emotional win like that. You have all the momentum. There actually is still a way for the Dolphins to win the division. I don't think it's going to happen, but,
no.
It's lingering in the back of their minds. I am going to take the Vikings to win this game, actually. I feel like they're a lot more comfortable at home, and that these are the types of games that Kirk Cousins actually thrives in. Throw him in Green Bay on a primetime game or in Seattle on a primetime game. Give him a big playoff game against, the Eagles when he was in the Redskins. Not that these games have actually happened, but those are the types of games where he falls, crashes under pressure. Give him an afternoon game against a still pretty mediocre Miami team that doesn't really have a ton of star power on defense. They've got some good players here and there, but it's not like this defense is loaded with, superstars. And on the flip side, their offense is fairly easy to, fairly one-dimensional. Ryan Tannehill is a good quarterback, but he's nothing special. And we saw this Vikings defense is very capable of slowing down mobile quarterbacks, and Ryan Tannehill likes to scramble every now and then. I think the defense will get the job done back at home, and I think the offense will come out a lot more consistent, a lot more calm. New offensive coordinator this week, too, so the Dolphins really don't know what to expect. I think there's a reason that Vegas set the spread there, especially after what we saw in both of those games. It feels like a trap bet to me. So I'm going to go completely opposite. I think the Vikings win, and I think they cover that spread.
All right. I'm going to pick the Dolphins definitely. For an 8-point spread, I'll pick them twice and 3 times. But I'd even pick them for just pick the game. I'm going with the Dolphins. I think they're favored. Yeah. But I think also Frank Gore, if he's going to play, I think he is, will have a really, really good game. Because those are the types of games that he just excels in. The grind-out games, even in cold weather, you can hand the ball 20 times. He's going to get you 100 yards. And I think that's going to make the difference. But okay, we can disagree on that.
Yeah, no, agree to disagree. That's why we're both here, because that's what makes it fun. 2 disagreements to 1 agreement, and I'm very curious to see where you're at with this game. This is a game, no spread yet. A few weeks ago, this looked like it could have been a battle for the 1 seed. And now both of these teams in the AFC, battle for the 1 seed in the AFC. And now both of these teams have kind of taken a step back. The Patriots, they're still fine, but, after that absurd loss, you got to think they're on edge. And the Steelers going from 7-2-1 to now, possibly losing the division to Baltimore, losing on the road to Oakland. No spread on this game yet. Steelers were initially 2-point favorites, but now they haven't changed it. I think there's some Roethlisberger injury stuff going on up in the air. Who do you have in this still massive matchup?
I do have the New England Patriots. There is no other pick to be made here. We know that the more you play Bill Belichick, the less likely you are to win. Patrick Mahomes, his next time is not going to beat the Patriots under normal circumstances, because if Bill sees what you're doing once, next time he's going to shut you down. And he's been shutting down the Steelers for 20 years, and there's no reason to believe he's going to stop doing it all of a sudden. He's better than Mike Tomlin. He will always be better than Mike Tomlin. And as long as these guys are coaching, the Patriots are going to beat the Steelers. Now, if the Patriots were to lose and the Dolphins were to win, there would actually just be 1 game difference, in which case that would make it interesting. Mm-hmm. And you said the the Steelers also are not guaranteed their division. The Ravens are good, and I think there's even a path for the Browns to theoretically win it, which of course is not going to happen. But Steelers are not going to score this week. Patriots are going to win.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. It's just a clear coaching mismatch here. We've seen it over and over again. Bill Belichick just kind of owns Mike Tomlin's soul. And, again, maybe a few weeks ago I might have picked the Steelers back because they do have that home field advantage. They are also very good at home. But in the end, every time these teams match up, you just see one or two things where the Patriots clearly look more prepared, more ready to go against the Steelers team. And I know I saw just a few weeks ago when the Steelers played the Chargers, just an example, the Steelers put linebackers on Keenan Allen, I think, for like 15 different coverage snaps, which is just a horrible coaching decision, which leads you to believe they'll probably do something similarly mind-blowing in a bad way against this Pats team, and the Pats will exploit it. Pats coming off a loss, so you know they're going to be motivated. You don't see Belichick lose games back-to-back very often. This is going to just be kind of a proof that one of these teams just kind of suffered a wacky loss and another team is actually in trouble. I think the Pats win. I think they win fairly easily, probably win by about a touchdown.
Yeah, they're going to win. I don't have a doubt about that. That's actually probably the clearest game out of the bunch that we talked about. Not necessarily because the difference in record is the highest or the biggest, but because I just know how this goes down. Because it's always been going down that way. And unless the Steelers prove to me that they can win, I don't think they're going to do it. Because what has changed from last year? Same quarterback, same head coach, same offensive style, same idea. Bill knows how to beat that. Yeah. And he would be a fool to go away from that.
Yeah, no, exactly. Again, same story, different year, and we're gonna see what we've been seeing just for the past few years. It's the same thing like in basketball when the Raptors play the Cavs. It's just before that whole move. So we just know what to expect. So with that being said, those are all of our picks for the big games. All the rest of our picks are now being available. I know on Alex's version of this show, if you're watching, you probably already heard all of his explanations. If you're watching from the MadMen channel, then here they are now. Here's the rest of our picks. And do you have anything else you want to add before we sign off?
I wanted to actually bring this up last week. Now it already happened, but do you have any thoughts on the Heisman?
I think Kyler Murray deserved it, especially, I don't know about you, but I don't watch enough. I watch college football. I keep up with it. I'm definitely not quite as in tune as I am with the NFL. I think he was deserving. His defenses really didn't provide him with much help, and he consistently carried his team to victories, and it was just kind of awesome to see. What about you? Would you have given it to somebody else?
Well, for me, it's a little bit of a split decision, actually. I was not happy. I was not happy with it because, Tua Tagovailoa, I think he missed like 2 games with injury, and then Jalen Hurts showed up and won games for Alabama as well.
Yes.
But that doesn't diminish how good this guy's been playing. I think, and I'm not trying to accuse anything here, but I think this ceremony was the committee making a statement to Kyler Murray saying, play football, please don't play baseball, we're giving you awards, if you will. Yeah. I think that Tua should have won. I think Tua's going to win next year because he still has a year of college in front of him.
Yes.
But it's very clear to me who's the best quarterback in college football. Did not like the decision, and I believe that Tua Tagovailoa is going to throw a party on Oklahoma in the playoff because he's not going to be happy with that. He's the type of competitor, and he's going to put 60 on him if he has to make a point of who is really the best.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, I think that me or you could put up 40 points against that Oklahoma defense.
Oh, yeah.
But no, I mean, if they had given it to Tua, I would have had no issues with it. I think they're both great. I think it's going to be a fun game to watch, but I think you definitely make some valid points. And there's no doubt in my mind that there might have been some politics involved when it comes to who they dealt that Heisman to. So I don't think
you never want to claim that. You never want to claim that when you can't prove it, but it seems a bit weird. I mean, it's not that he was a complete outsider. Tua was the odds-on favorite, and I think it was the right decision. But if you think that Kyler Murray deserved it more, then that's fine. I mean, I'm not going to protest that.
Yeah, I will say, kind of on your point, I do think it's a little strange that up until about 2 weeks before the season ended, Tua was like a 4-1 favorite in Vegas. He was the obvious front runner. And then he misses 1 half against Georgia, and suddenly it's like it diminishes everything he did throughout the year. So I kind of do agree with that I think that maybe it wasn't even what your theory. It might even just be that people are so reactionary that they gave it to Kyler just based on what they had seen from one game.
Yeah, that's possible.
Yeah,
I don't know that, but yeah, maybe that's that's definitely possible. Yeah, I think Tua's just. I mean, Kyler Murray is not going to play in the NFL. I think we can both agree on that.
Yeah, probably not. He's talented, but and obviously after seeing some other quarterbacks this year, I don't want to say size will definitely hinder him, but it's a thing eventually. He's what, 5'10"?
I think he's like 5'9". I'm not.
Yeah.
I tend to mention size as a small point of criticism for quarterbacks when they're 6 feet.
Yes.
Like I mentioned that as an off note when I scouted Baker Mayfield
yes.
in early this spring. But 5'9", that's just not going to happen. You'll have offensive linemen who are a foot taller than you. You're not going to you can stretch out your arm and you can barely get the ball over their heads in the NFL. He's not going to make it. He's going to play pro baseball, which kudos to him. But I think it's pretty clear at this point that Tua is going to be the number one pick in 2020, barring retirement.
Yeah, agreed. Barring retirement,
that's what it looks like at least.
Barring any sort of other injury. But college football fun. Definitely getting into the draft season. I'm sure you are too. And, yeah, really looking forward to that. A lot of teams, I'm sure, are looking forward to that, including 49ers fans like yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I was watching some Nick Bosa today. I'm sure you're pretty excited about that.
Oh, yeah. Nick Bosa is not a bad prospect now. They've invested a lot of draft cap in their defensive line. So
no, he is not.
If they're going to pick him as well, that better be the last one for a while.
Yes, agreed. But can never have too many pass rushers, if you ask me. Thank you so much for watching, listening, guys. Really appreciate it. Subscribe and check out Alex's channel if you're watching from mine. Check out my channel if you're watching from Alex's. Both great content, both producing some great stuff out there. We'll be keeping you up to date with a lot of football content throughout the season, throughout the off season. Thank you again. This was Brian. That's Alex, and we'll see you next week.